This right here, this is my prayer book. It's not antique old. It's just regular old. I bought it the week before I started seminary in the bookstore in the basement of Seabury that was. My grandmother, who was Baptist, had given me money to buy a Bible. But I'm Episcopalian, so I figured this is what she meant. This is the kind of a prayer book in the kind of condition that comes from decades of actual use. As I say, I've been praying with it since I was a seminarian, and if you were close to it, if you picked it up, if I'd left it somewhere, you'd know it was mine right away because it has my name printed in gold on it. But even if it didn't have that, I would know it was mine because the pages of this prayer book, well, they're stained with the oil from my hands, years of it, pressed into the pages of morning prayer and evening prayer and the Eucharist and all those other places where I've gripped onto it when I needed something to hold. There's a water stain in here from my daughter's baptism where the font splashed a little bit more exuberantly than anyone expected, and I was holding the book to the right page. And there's a stain of candle wax from an Advent wreath that attacked me one year. In the back, there's a prayer card of St. Ignatius Loyola and the bulletin from my grandfather's funeral. And in the front, you can see these Easter egg stickers that are a custom of my mentor priest who gave them to people who served on the altar with her at the Easter vigil. And to be fair, there are some smudges that I don't know what they are, and that's probably good. But here's what I know for sure. I did not plan any of it. You can't plan any of that. I could not have made this prayer book the way it is on purpose. There's no way to break the binding the way it's coming apart from the cover except by prayer. You cannot rush it or replicate it or manufacture it. It happens because I showed up day after day, year after year, and the life of prayer left its mark on the book and me, even when I wasn't paying attention. Now, this prayer book is what I thought of when I considered Psalm 133 this week. How very good and pleasant it is when kindred live together in unity. It is like the precious oil on the head running down upon the beard on the beard of Aaron, running down over the collar of his robe. Now, if you have ever been close enough to the oil stock at a baptism or a confirmation, you know that this image is both beautiful and kind of alarming. When Aaron was anointed with the oil, like the psalm is describing, the oil ran. It ran all down his head, through his beard, down onto his robes. It's an image of total saturation, extravagance past the point of tidiness. It's the kind of anointing that you cannot contain. Now, the psalm doesn't tell us about this oil. It doesn't tell us where to get it or what to do with it. It doesn't offer a step-by-step pattern for producing the kind of community that it describes. All it says is that this is what it feels like when something holy is poured out. It gets everywhere. It runs long past where you expected it to stop. It soaks into things. And the scent of it lingers for days. And then Peter stands up. Acts 2, the morning of Pentecost, after the wind and the fire and the crowd's bewilderment, and someone in the crowd says the thing that crowds always say when they don't understand what they're looking at: they are filled with new wine. Which, in the original Greek, is probably better translated, these people are out of their minds. And Peter, the exact same Peter who denied Jesus 3 times in a courtyard only a few weeks ago, the same Peter who went back to fishing after the resurrection because he didn't have anything else better to do, Peter stands up in front of this enormous crowd and begins to preach. And he doesn't ask permission, and he doesn't wait until he's better prepared or more credentialed or further in his formation. He just opens his mouth and the Spirit pours out of him. He quotes Joel. He talks about the sons and the daughters who prophesy, about the young ones who will see visions, and the Spirit being poured out on all flesh, and the oil is running again. And this time, it's running through Peter, of all people, and soaking into the crowd, reaching people who had no reason to expect it. Now, I want you to notice what Peter doesn't say. Peter does not say, you should listen to me because I have a master of divinity. And he doesn't say, I have had excellent preaching formation and I have benefited from a week at Preach-Away Camp with this distinguished faculty. And he doesn't say, once I've had the opportunity to process this experience a little more with my spiritual director and developed a clearer theological framework, I would be happy to share with you. He just preaches because the Spirit doesn't wait. The oil runs whether you are ready for it or not. Now, I have been coming to this program, to the Preaching Excellence program, for over 20 years. First as a participant and then as a faculty member. And in that time, I have seen something happen here that I can only describe the way the psalmist did. As oil, holy oil running way past where you expected it to stop. I have seen people arrive here on the first day, anxious and uncertain, convinced that they had nothing to say. And I have watched the Spirit move through them in ways that surprised everyone, especially them. And I have watched preaching groups become the kind of community that the psalmist describes, how good and pleasant it is when kindred dwell together. I have seen the oil get everywhere. But here's what I also know, because I've been doing this long enough to have the prayer book to prove it. What you experience this week is only the beginning. Only the very beginning. The anointing that you receive here this week, and you are being anointed, whether it feels like it or not. That anointing is going to keep running. It's going to run into parishes where you will serve that you have never even heard of. That anointing will pool up in sermon series that you can't imagine. It'll pour out in pastoral conversations at 3 a.m. in hospitals that you don't know. It will run down the faces of people who are grieving and confused and desperate for someone to stand up and say just one true thing. The oil gets everywhere. And that's the whole point. Now, one day, if you are very lucky and you are faithful in your calling, nothing like perfect, just faithful. If you are faithful in your calling, one day, maybe you get to have a busted-ass prayer book like mine. Stained and worn and marked with the material evidence of years of showing up. And when well-meaning people from your parish think we should buy him a new prayer book, you will say, "Oh, get behind me, Satan." No one has taken this one away from me. Because your children's baptisms will be in there. The baptisms you perform of other people's children will be in there. Your own tears and the tears of others will be in there. Remembrances and evidence of the parishes that you served with joy, and the ones that were hard and the ones that broke your heart. They will all be in there, all of it. All of it will be soaked into the pages. Because that worn and stained and beautiful book will be the testimony of what happens when the Spirit is poured out on someone who will say yes. Now, you can't earn this oil. You can't ration it or control where it runs. Your children will prophesy. Young people will see visions. Old ones will dream dreams, and the Spirit will be poured out on all flesh, including yours, and including the flesh of the people whom you will preach to for the rest of your days, as long as God gives you life. So stand up and preach, for the oil is already running.